This conference will now be recorded.
All right, we'll call the order Monterey Select Board on October 8th at 6:02 PM. We have all three board members present here in Town Hall. And we've also got Dean, thank you for joining us. So we have this great opportunity for the town, a piece of land down on 57, that you're offering as a donation. One thing that I've already mentioned to you is we have to have town meeting vote to accept the land, the select board can't do that on our own. So as far as timeline, there's a couple of options. One is we have a meeting the first week in November. We would really need to fast track it and get a lot of attention on it in the next week. Or I'm not gonna put a December meeting entirely out of the picture, but it would be, it would just be something that we would need to work on, and then the last option was May, but it sounds like there is a time sensitivity to it.
A little bit for us.
So, and Frank, you had a chance to visit,
Hey, I did.
and Susan, did you get a chance to
I did,
go down?
sorry, I'm trying to get an actual correct figure for the Mad Rescue vehicle before we do the ban.
Okay,
And I'm just trying to get a
Yeah.
figure out of him.
we don't need to sign that tonight, do we?
No.
Yeah, I don't think we.
have a conversation. It was just-
So,
Well, I guess, my question is, what was your, by donating the land to the town, what did you family think about as far as use? You and I were talking about
Green
it,
space,
green space.
whether you use it as a town beach, a town preserve. We just don't wanna see buildings going up on it, otherwise we would have done that ourselves. We feel the town is lacking a large parcel to hold events, to do fishing derbies, to do whatever, the town wants to do. And we're just, as we see the overdevelopment of everything, my brother and I sat and talked a little bit and said this would be a nice addition to a community that we love.
It's a beautiful spot.
It is.
Is your house actually next to it on one side or the other? No, okay.
Is there a point at which the community, is this a kind of meeting where community can comment or not?
yeah, you always can.
My comment would be, having dealt with something like this in New York City in a neighborhood that lacked park space in comparison to this in the city, it's so very important. And one thing I've noticed since I've had my house here is how, and maybe coming from the West Coast where there's lots of beachfront that's preserved for the public, very little beachfront property on either of these lakes that's public. There's, in fact, there's really nothing on Lake Buell. I know Lake Buell well, because I have family over there. Just simply a boat ramp, no public space. That is, to me, somehow just unacceptable in my experience. So,
It's a beautiful, beautiful spot.
it's
The
a
other thing
beautiful
on-
spot and what an opportunity.
Thank you. The other thing on the property is it does have, hasn't been used, but it's got a 50-unit septic on it. So if you decided to put in some public bathrooms, or whatever, it also has 4 wells on the property. Cause
Makes it perfect for housing, but.
it fell to Leaside Lodge and everything else, and then, it got affected by the several year, 100-year floods.
Yeah, maybe we have to put them on pallets. I mean, it seems like the two options would be it would make a beautiful beach. I looked at it, I thought, oh, is it just mud? But no, actually, there's a decent surface below that. It would not be a lot to make.
That was my question.
Yeah, I think it actually could be made into beach, without a ton of work. But maintaining the property is gonna be something. And the town is definitely not, again, as you pointed out at a previous meeting, another option would be for like if you were interested in working with BNRC, that might be another option. I mean, and I don't wanna, like, on the one hand, like, I love the idea of having it for the town and having it as a beach. On the other, I look at what would be involved in, pulling up all those foundations and, making that space, but also maintaining the space. Cause it's not just mowing, there would be a lot of maintenance, and we're kind of almost managing our existing park space, but it's a bit of a go.
What other maintenance issues would you have? I mean, we basically have mowing every 2 weeks.
Right,
That's the only maintenance on the property we have.
well, if we were to put in, a bathroom, for example, it would have to, we not only have to build it, but you have to
I get that.
maintain it, and as you know, public bathrooms are not always easy to maintain. I mean,
We
we
have
could
to
always
have
go the
community-
same route as we do with this beach, which is to not use that and to just have porta potties so that company is maintained. I'm not really sure.
Okay.
A second set of lifeguards, moving the beach to there instead of having it here and only have the one set of lifeguards. I'm not sure. I just know that if you don't invest in the maintenance, the properties do suffer.
Does the town ever go out to, or do they get help from local contractors? Like, we had this in Friends in Long Island and Friends on Rhode Island, and what they did is they put this out that somebody has donated, and local contractors said, we'll come up and we'll dig stuff off and we'll lay this for you because we like it for the community.
Wow.
So I don't know if you
That's
guys have ever had that done.
That's definitely an option. My feeling is that it's too good of an opportunity to pass up over some of those, items.
Well,
And there's also, I know that there is the park grant, right, which we're at this same meeting withdrawing a different
Right.
application from, and is closed for this year. But the whole purpose of that grant is renovating
Those
Parkland,
properties.
so it's
Yeah.
possible we could go next year and say, we wanna dig up, or we wanna clean up some of those foundation areas, we wanna put in a little parking lot. So there is definitely grant money out there for this kind of thing.
It is such a beautiful spot, and
got,
it's got shade, and it's got like that beachfront, I mean, so, I know I sound like I'm like,
No worries,
looking both
I
ways,
know what
because-
it is, so.
yeah, but it's like, I agree, like, it could be a gorgeous town beach. Tell you what, we'd have a problem with. It's so nice, like, think about how much parking we have at Garfield with the overflow parking area, and it's packed. There's no way we'd have that, like, I have no idea what we do about that, because I don't wanna pave it for parking.
No.
No.
Yeah, but we might have to put in so many parking spots, and that's part of it.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
I mean,
And I assume back from when it was rentals, that some amount of it was paved.
Yeah,
There's
there's,
a
the
small
front part of
parking
it's
area, right,
paved, the right side is, I mean, they had parking there for 75 or 80 spaces.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I had no idea.
Cause there were four different rental buildings there at one time.
Cause I was like, I don't wanna pave any of it.
And the one to the right wasn't paved, it was just gravel and
Gravel,
dirt.
yeah.
That's what they left it as. Because when water and frost and everything, it was easier, and that was actually the best way for us to maintain it.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if the next step forward is to just kind of accept it, knowing that it will benefit the town. And doing things maybe a little bit out of order, but then taking the winter or however long it takes to work with the Parks Commission and figure out how to do the different parking, landscape design, but knowing that even if we own it and it kind of is as is, that's still a benefit.
Yeah.
And then we can take the time that we really need to see how to best utilize the space, cause I'm sure landscape, like we could hire Foresight and they could spend a lot of time drawing up different plans and going over with the Parks Commission, but in any case, it's gonna benefit the community. I mean, it's just a beautiful piece of
It's a
property.
beautiful piece of property, and that beachfront is, like, the lakefront is irreplaceable,
Absolutely.
for lack of a better way to put it.
Who else is going, I mean, who's going to come along and donate another piece of property?
Like that, no,
It's not gonna happen.
it's not gonna happen.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, Roger.
What's, the property that's to the, like, if you're looking at the lake, the property to the left, there's a house down by the, what's, is
I'll
that?
think of her name in a second. She has a right of way
Is
through
it
it,
Andrews?
which, Andrus. They have a right of way through it.
Yeah.
Which we've always left in. They were, originally there were 4 houses taking their water off the wells on this property. That's all done, that's all gone. And I guess she is thinking about rebuilding that house.
Mhm.
Or I don't know if they're gonna rebuild it or tear it down and rebuild it.
Cause there's no that's the only access to it, there's no access
Correct.
from up on.
Yeah, and we were gonna make it on the left,
Mhm.
come down along where the septic is. If we weren't gonna use the septic, we were gonna take rid of that whole mound and go along the left side of it.
So if we owned it, one option would be to keep the current driveway for her, cause it's a deeded access. And another option would be to make one that goes more along the property boundary,
Yeah, move it over to
and
the
then it would
left hand
keep it
side.
more out of our way. So we have 2
So she'd
choices,
have
but
her own driveway.
it's a deeded,
Right,
it's a
yeah.
deeded right.
They need to have access to this.
Yes. And as far as the deeded water rights, they are technically still in the books, right, seasonal,
Yes, but everybody's off.
everyone's off,
Everybody
they
is
have their
done.
own well.
We basically, so they were using them year round.
Mhm.
And they were supposed to be paying for the water rights for the last 20 years and nobody was. And all of a sudden it was, well, we saw this in the water and, we have a little sediment. We're like, well, you can, and then we went back to the deeded rights and we were like, we can give it to you from, May to September. No, that's not good enough. So everybody dug their own wells to get off the water supply.
How many acres is that thing?
I'm not sure the acreage off the top of my head. I know there's 3 building lots, 600 feet of frontage on the road and about the same on the lake.
I think it's a little over 2, I looked at it one day.
Okay.
A little over 2, I think so.
Well, for one
Actually, I thought it
parcel,
was, actually, there's 3 parcels.
Yeah.
Oh, I think it's more than that.
Is
Three
it gonna be,
parcels.
It's gonna be all
Diagram you
those?
gave me?
Oh, yeah.
cause I noticed there was 2 of them that are like right next to each other, one's got the,
We're
So
thinking
it's
all
all
3
three of them.
parcels.
oh, wow.
it is,
I can give you the 2 on the left and
Are
keep
you
the
looking
one on
at
the right.
it's, there's one that's about 2 acres, one that's about 2 acres, and one that's about
They're all like 2 acres.
2 acres, so it's about 6 total.
6
But it's all-
acres?
it's all-
That was like 6'1", 6'2".
Okay, so it's all 3 of them.
That's
Okay.
remarkable.
I know, it really is.
And another option is if you're worried about size, if you're worried about, maintenance and all that, we could divide it and give you 2 of the lots
Yeah,
and keep 1. That's another,
yeah, I don't-
another option.
I'm not too worried about maintenance, I mean, it's the mowing, which has been done, we would probably put it on our every week mowing. I know you've been doing it every 2 weeks, but if we had people there, we'd probably put it on our every week mowing contract, but we already have
Right.
the dam, the beach, the town hall, so, and the community center, and so it's a marginal, and the cemeteries. So it's really a marginal increase on mowing.
So what you.
There will be a tree that needs attention, but that happens
Everywhere.
everywhere, so. The bigger picture thing that I think we would need to do is figure out the driveway, whether we wanna keep the current one or make a new one. And then whatever we wanna do with the foundations and the septic and any kind of closing up that we might wanna do or utilizing, but.
Driveway, I mean, ultimately, the driveway for the person who has access.
And that's a dirt driveway, it
Right.
always has been a dirt
Yeah.
driveway.
So the driveway, parking, the foundations, and the mowing. The mowing is a weekly or whatever thing, the other things are the bigger issues, and creating, if we're using it to create a beach, creating a proper beach access.
Right.
Yeah.
So that nothing erodes and the shoreline stays healthy and all of that stuff, which, those are things you have to think about when you create it. I don't know how to do it, but I know that you have to worry about it. And those are the main things that would strike me as the
You okay?
items to be considered.
Chair broke.
There's a lever.
There was a lever. There's no
You're
lever.
just sitting there, it had nothing to do with the weather.
I have a quick question
Yeah,
about those
Colin.
foundations. Are the foundations on the ground or is there cellar?
They're flush with the ground.
So is there potential in the future to use those as surfaces for a pergola is the words that comes to mind, but
Like a pavilion.
Like a
a
pavilion.
pavilion, that's what
If
it
we get our pavilion finished at the community center, we'll start talking about pavilions.
Right, but I just was
We
thinking.
checked the
It's an interesting
foundations.
question. It would
They
be-
told us if you're gonna rebuild or you're gonna do something, the foundations have to stay.
Yeah, they have to stay because by removing them, you lose your rights to do
Correct.
otherwise. The question would be what condition they're in. I'd say a couple of them, I'm not a builder.
They're old.
But a
They're
couple of
definitely
them would probably just, if you were doing anything, you'd have to replace them. I wouldn't wanna see more than one of them remain personally. But which one?
And I think that's probably where an engineer, a civil engineer comes into play and a plan, and a plan for the whole property.
Yeah.
That's comprehensive and takes into consideration everything that we're talking about. And really, that would probably be something the Parks Commission would take care of, assuming we accept that as a park.
So are you thinking for a process way, you're thinking that the board consider adopting it and then get approval from the town in May, or how would you wanna go about it?
Oh, we just gotta talk to our lawyer,
To find out what we
but-
have to do.
but I think that's just the next step, and she's well aware of the situation. But just saying, here's the situation we're in, what kind of a timeline do we have, so I'll probably do that like first thing tomorrow. And get the ball rolling and see what we can do, whether it's November, or not,
I
but
mean, June's not that far along.
no,
May,
but it's not,
whatever,
there is
May,
some
so.
time,
Do you have a
Timeline is
short
concerned.
timeline?
I'm trying to do it this year.
Calendar year.
so.
Sorry,
We-
there's a calendar year, fiscal year thing, and they're not the
That's
same.
okay.
So we'll figure that out, but it's beyond me what exactly
Okay,
all the steps are,
and let me know.
so we'll be in touch definitely. But thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I just have to say, I have been swimming in Lake Buell many times because I know someone with property on Lake Buell. But the idea of being able to go over to Lake Buell, which is so beautiful, and just being able to get in the water without having to know somebody on the lake is the most remarkable thing. So, you know what I mean?
And
we
not having to
also just-
share with boats, like access.
Exactly, yeah.
But also, if you saw, we just fenced the whole property.
Yeah,
I
saw
did
that,
notice, it's
yeah.
quite pretty
Yeah.
fencing.
We were letting people use it as come and go and come and do this, and sit in the sun and et cetera, and then there were mattresses left there.
What a shame.
We just got to a point where we're tired of cleaning it up by being nice.
I really get it. Unfortunately, it doesn't take a lot of bad actors to ruin a situation.
And the old chief was tired of calling me saying there's a mattress and stuff on the backside of the, I'm like, okay, I get it.
I hear
Do you mow
So-
all 6 acres, is the whole property?
Yeah, well, some of it's paved, some of it has foundations there,
But
so
basically,
you're
what's
probably
the-
mowing like 4,
Yeah.
maybe just under.
I'm dying to jump in that lake right now.
you. You go home.
Come on, I saw you waited, I'm driving past you.
Alright, well, thank you, and we'll be in touch.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great night, you're welcome.
Have a question?
So,
Thank you,
Lynn,
thank you for allowing me to participate.
thank you, Colin.
Colleen, you're up. Public is always welcome. We usually have a discussion and ask for comment on each item towards the end of it
Excellent.
or earlier, so there's always that ability.
Lynn,
Yes.
thank you for joining us to discuss the Council on Aging matter. Do you wanna go now, or do you wanna wait until 6:30? If you're ready to go, we're ready to go.
I'm ready to go.
Let's do it.
I did not really practice, I'm not still practicing.
Yeah.
So at our,
Hello, Lynn.
at our September meeting, the COA board voted that we would like to approach the town for a raise for Catherine Roberts, who's our outreach coordinator / administrator. She gets a cost of living every year, but we wanted to do more for her. She's really exceptional. Has just jumped in with both feet. And she handles administrative details, she sets up, she breaks down, she's at every event, she just brings sort of an intangible quality of excitement and commitment to everything we do. So we had two ways we were thinking about this. One, and I'm totally new, I don't really have a picture of how salaries work or even how this whole process worked, just like I said, this is where I started, so I'm here. One option is to increase her hours, because I have a supporter on the COA board, Roberta Weiss, she's on our board. One way to do it is increase hours, maximum of 15, I think would be what we would think of. And the other part we wanna look at is parity with other similar positions in the town. I think executive director of community center is a similar type position. I don't know what the earning is there, but, we would think parity makes sense. Maybe not, if we're gonna increase hours, maybe not quite as much hourly pay, but I wanna work within those ideas to come up with a plan.
So, thanks for coming, first of all. Is the increase in hours based on new programming, or do you feel like you're getting behind with what you're doing?
She's always feeling like she's playing catch up, she's
Yeah.
not always getting to everything, and I'm taking on a lot that, I had thought she would be able to do. Especially, like, I'm fine to write some articles for the Monterey News, but I do all of it as volunteer, and I wasn't planning on that 3 years ago, and she would definitely take that on. We have talked about that.
How many hours is she scheduled to work in?
10.
10.
And she's always got her eye on the hours, so she doesn't, bump up against the 10. And she, the end of last year, in the summer, we had a lot of events going on, and she was always over, but she can't bill for over.
Yeah, I mean, the one way to handle that, and it's not ideal for you probably, but I'm just thinking through that particular instance. If there are busy weeks, and then taking into account the fiscal year budget, just 13 hours this week, maybe could be 7 hours next week.
No, and we do work with that.
Cause certainly no one should be expected to work unpaid hours. But we also are working within budget. Usually we do, so this would be part of next year's fiscal year.
Got it.
Starting July 1st.
Right.
But this is good to get a jump on it. As far as parity, we have to take a look. I know Roger did pull me the numbers for the community center director, which, as you said, and I think is a reasonable idea, is a pretty similar position. They are fairly similar now.
In pay or
They're
hours?
close in pay, they're $19 to $20 range for both of them.
Yeah.
Right now.
But we increased his hours in this budget year, didn't we? Or Jay?
I believe so.
I think we did actually, I
Yeah.
think they were increased, yeah. I think he's only, but it's only, I think, 10 hours a week for him, similar.
They
Yeah.
started
Hours.
around the same time, so there's no seniority difference,
Oh,
I don't think.
I think
Yeah,
Catherine was
RJ
a
and
little
Catherine
sooner.
were,
Yeah.
Catherine was a little sooner,
Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
but it was
not
all
by a huge
within,
amount.
No,
it was within a little bit.
I mean, I think that like this is, we usually do raises and adjustments, with the fiscal budget year,
Mhm.
so that's coming up. My thought is, for one thing, there should, if they're comparable jobs, they should have comparable pay. And, I think we looked at, when we did the community center, I think we actually did look at some other places, what they were paying hourly when we came up with that salary,
Mhm.
or rather the hourly rate. I don't know where the COA number came from, I think. As far as hours, I think what would be really good too, when you're coming up with the budget is, like, you guys know what
Mhm.
projects she's working on over the summer, and look at that and say, like, is this gonna be our normal workload? And what hours do we need to make that happen? Cause I get a lot of positive feedback on stuff the COA is doing and the events. I think there was pretty good participation. So, when you're putting the budget together, it'd be like, so we had this many events and this many people participated. I know that the lunches have been I hear about the lunches from Maureen pretty
Oh,
often.
really? Yeah.
Yeah, she's always looking for new places to suggest to go and stuff.
Major point of discussion at the board meeting.
Yeah.
That and the movies takes up a lot of time.
Yeah, I think I've been responsible for several movie suggestions you guys have had. I hope they were popular. But like, I think that's.
Yeah, is there a maximum, are there any guidelines for me to work within in terms of like, we can't ask for more than?
So once we get to 20 hours, it's a
Yeah.
large threshold because of
That I
benefits.
know.
Which doesn't mean that it's a no-go,
Mm.
it just means that take into consideration that it's, 10,000-ish more, plus or minus many thousand dollars, depending on what kind of health insurance plan the person goes on. That's a big threshold,
Yeah, I don't think we need that. actually.
but,
That would be too many.
other than that,
Have you, I thought you went and looked at other,
I didn't.
oh, okay, because I can't remember, I was talking to you and Lori, I can't remember who was
Oh,
at the
okay.
same time. So I think that might be a good start too, is to maybe see if there are other part-time, COA people around, which I'm sure there are. And see if there's a dollar value that you might be able to get from them, because that would be kind of a good place to start.
Yeah, I actually have an easy way to do that.
There's some comparison dollar values, and that's a good way to start. And I think what the board was talking about too is coming up with sort of those hours over the course of the year and how that works, and that kind of gives us an idea moving forward. But I think definitely getting a comparison to other COAs and what's happening with them dollar wise on an hourly rate.
Okay, but you think some combination of hours and dollars?
Dollars,
Could
yeah,
be workable.
understanding where her time's going and saying I need to.
Yeah,
Because there's two issues, one,
Right.
is there enough hours to get the work done, and two is, what are we paying her paying the person per hour? So you gotta look at them,
balance it.
right,
But
but
they're also independent to a certain degree,
Okay.
right? Like, they both determine that total amount.
Right,
But in a sense,
They're
she
there.
should have a reasonable rate of pay per hour. And then
And
you
she
have to
should-
decide, well,
right.
Can we want all these events, can we get them done? Do we have to pare down the events, or can we up the
No,
hours
that's
and
helpful,
you have
because
to
I'll
balance
ask
that
for
out?
what we
Yeah.
really believe we need, and we'll go from there.
yeah,
and it's not surprising because it's such a new position, right? It's within the past 2 years or 3 years?
I think 3.
Yeah, I mean, when I first got on the board, this position didn't really exist.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's been a little while, it hasn't been too long.
Yeah, no, it is the
So-
first time for it.
So it's
yeah.
not that surprising that we're saying, okay, here's where we're at. I think it could also help to specify what are the duties that are currently getting done, whether it's bills, minutes, postings, and then what are the duties that we'd like to get done that haven't been getting done that have been done by volunteers because this person is not time, newspaper, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And also,
No, I
we
knew-
went from
moving
not
into
having
new
an
areas,
agent
yeah.
to having one. What was the COA able to do before we had that person? And what are we able to do for the community now?
Yeah.
Because,
Double.
right,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
what's happened with participation, what's happened with people feeling like they have somewhere to go and something to do, how is that affecting the
Yeah.
community? Because that's how we make,
No,
you
and
know,
our
put forward the
board-
argument that this is
Yeah.
worth doing, like, wow.
Our board's gone from what, 5 to 7 or 8, where, you know, we had new people come to the meeting this week,
That's great.
it's got some momentum, yeah. All right.
Well, this is great, because usually people come to us in the 11th hour and throw us a curveball.
It came
So
up,
you're coming
yeah.
and being proactive, so that's awesome.
When will I need to,
I'm sorry, are there grants and stuff too? Aren't there some grants that?
sometimes, yeah, I mean, there's always grants, they, you know, they're defined. It's not just like, what would your COA like money for?
But do you do some of the local cultural council
We
grants?
actually just
You
got
do.
a grant from them.
So that's a
And
little
we're
bit
gonna
like what do you
apply
want
for
money for,
another one,
yeah.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, so we haven't asked for an increase in our budget for events, you know, that works out fine. But our transportation went up, so we're looking for other sources to kind of fill in that gap, and the cultural council is a big help.
How's the transportation thing going?
It's going fine, I've been having a lot of trouble getting reports from them on ridership, and I have a new person to talk to, so I hope I'm gonna be doing better with that. Because they claim that we're now paying for people who are not seniors to ride, they have a whole different plan, and whether that's happening or not, I don't know.
Is that the BRTA thing?
No, it's
No.
still Tri-Town Connector,
Tri-Town Connectors,
yeah.
right.
but the van, I've seen the van, I think it still says GBCOA.
They have
'Cause I saw-
multiple vans, they have some that say that, and some that say
Okay.
Connector.
And they have cars too, they have people that drive around in cars. It's-
Yeah, they're looking for volunteers now, they keep expanding in different ways.
So as far as timeline,
Yes.
December would be great if you could have kind of a memo, a report by December that would say the things that we've discussed
Mhm.
about what are other towns paying, duties that are getting done, duties that aren't getting done, services that could be offered or
Mhm.
can continue to be offered if we do this. So if you can have that by December,
Like by December 1?
no.
No.
December
Two.
15th.
December 15th.
You got it.
Then we talk about it in January, in February, and then in March we go and bang our heads together and try to make a budget
Right,
and fit on paper, and then we vote on it in May.
okay,
December, we try to have everything in by, so December 15th would be great if you
Okay.
can do that.
Good.
Um,
that's great. Okay,
Thank you, and it's great to hear that she's being so successful
she
and that.
is, she absolutely is, beyond any expectation, you know, because it's not only the enthusiasm and the technical ability, but she knows everybody.
Yeah.
So she just brings people in, and they bring more people in, so it's good.
then-
All right, then.
Roses, you guys should,
What?
you guys should go to Roses for lunch.
That's the next plan.
Yeah.
And I found
sold-
out today it's accessible, so.
Yeah,
Yeah, if I can
That's-
buy it today too, they have a nice big ramp.
Yeah.
I told Mo about it, and
Yeah.
then they went there to try it, yeah.
Yeah, so we're going.
So you'll join us.
I might.
You never know. All right.
All right.
Good seeing you.
You too, have fun tomorrow with the little guy.
Yeah, I'm gonna be here from all this time.
Okay.
Thank you.
They're doing good, right?
Yeah, we'll find out. We're gonna be in the house 5 days.
Did anybody hear, did the Menzies grandkid come? Okay, I'll have to.
I saw
She was out there waiting for the baby to be born, and they're like, you know. Yesterday, I isn't here yet.
Baby's gonna come when it wants to come.
Exactly. Okay.
Okay,
next.
letter about the open space and recreation plan.
I wondered if, I pondered whether or not we should say more clearly what our issue was, but I just decided it was, like, they have to know.
Mhm.
Can never change anything on the property.
Well, that's the next line.
Oh, for the park.
Oh,
No,
sorry,
This
which
is, this
one
is
is
open space.
this? This is open space, right, yeah.
Yeah. Thanking everybody for all their hard work.
Yeah, that was.
And
I
actually,
previously-
this letter says that we voted to endorse the open space and recreation
Yeah.
plan, so I will move that the board endorse the Monterey open space and recreation
I
plan.
second the motion.
If there's no other discussion, we'll call a vote.
Yes.
Any comments, Mickey?
Okay. What's your vote?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes as well. The next one is the park grant.
I did send this, I don't know if you all had a chance to read it.
I do, yeah.
But that
Did you
was the
write that?
comment still.
Did I write that?
Yeah,
Yes,
you say yes for the grant. I thought it was well written.
thank you.
I mean,
You
yeah.
have to use all your techniques.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was smooth. We're rejecting you, but we love you.
Whatever resources you could find to do this, you use.
It's not you, it's us.
Dear John Leonard.
Put it on. I read it. I said,
This is not going to affect the open space.
No.
I called Melissa Crayan, because her name, Crayan,
Brian, yeah.
and asked if it would affect because I was nervous about
Yeah,
that.
I was chewing my nose about
And
that.
so I called them up and she said, it's two different grants. One is, to get the one though, you have to apply for the other one. That's all you have to do is apply for it.
So
as long
even
as
though
you
we
apply-
turned it down, we just withdrew our application though, is that not applying?
We applied.
Okay.
And I think we really gave it a good shot.
We
We
did.
didn't pay it lip service. We just had this.
Reservations about this
Because
thing
we
we
just
didn't
found out there were
realize,
things
yeah.
that were like.
But
So
you're
now
right,
it
the
doesn't
program
have
would
to
be
go
a
on the
perfect thing
warrant
to
now.
use.
So,
That's-
And I kind of saw this and with the timeline and everything, so it's an annual grant, the park grant. And it's closed for this year, obviously, but we might keep it in mind for next year. Cause I think a big part of that property is gonna be how much money are we gonna put into it and how serious are we gonna get about doing it right the first time?
Yeah,
We nickel and dimed ourselves over at the community center and here we are,
have
you
to pick
know,
up
8
pieces.
years later saying, why didn't we do parking right? Why didn't we do lighting right? Why didn't we do that? And now we've been fighting those issues for 8 years and now we're, you know, having to really figure them out.
I completely agree, let's look at it, make a solid plan and make that plan happen, even if making the plan happen takes a little longer, at least we'll get it done in a, like,
Yeah, in one go,
in one
kind
go.
of.
Well, and hopefully do a more, not thorough, but more forward-looking job.
Yeah.
So that we don't then have to come back and fix what we didn't do.
Yeah.
There's always
And I also
something, but-
don't blame anyone at the community center, I think it
No.
was, this balance of like.
Yeah.
People trying to save money, which there's also some value, who knew that it would kind of take off like that, and so, here we are.
I mean, I think they did an amazing job renovating that place with a very small budget.
Yeah.
Like, definitely.
And a lot of fundraising, not a lot
Yeah.
of money from the town. Donation, yeah, Mickey,
Did you guys have to vote on signing that?
the park grant, I'll move that the town withdraw from the park grant.
I'll second,
Is there any other discussion? We'll call a vote,
yes.
Yes.
and yes.
I missed those on my side of the street, so you don't have to miss it over here. We should vote on that, okay, yeah.
The next item on the agenda is accepting a donation to the fire department.
You just made a copy of the check
Yeah.
if you wanna look at it. Yeah, the gentleman, Robert Connor, I think Kuhner, he came in, he wanted to donate $50 to the fire department. I double checked with him that he meant the fire department and not the fire company. I explained the two, and he said he would like to donate it to the fire department. So I was going to, I had two options for how to accept it in there as revenue. I can either put it in miscellaneous revenue, which it just gets put in somewhere, or I can put it actually, I guess I could put it in with fire permits, as that's the only other fire-related revenue. And that really is what offsets the fire inspector. So that's the only other option I have, but.
I think it should go under miscellaneous.
I'm okay with you.
We don't really have a good mechanism to accept these kinds of donations.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the police has a revolving fund, right? Because they accept.
They
donations.
get gifts much more frequently. I think since I've been on the board, it's like every month or couple of months, we get something for the police, and so they have a mechanism for it.
Yeah.
But generally, if someone wants to donate to the library, they just go to the Friends. If they wanna donate to the fire operation, they go to the company.
Yeah.
They wanna donate to the community center, they go to the Friends. So this
So
is more rare.
I'll just put it in the miscellaneous revenues.
But technically, the town needs to accept it, and I'm gonna say if there's no opposition, the town accepts the donation.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Don't give me money. Take money.
The next item on the agenda is the administrative assistant.
So interesting, I was talking to Susan today, and I was like, I haven't heard from Mary, so I'm just gonna go on my way and start doing it myself. Shortly thereafter, I received an email from Mary at the Collins Center, who said they have 17 applications, they've had 17 applicants. They've interviewed Lindsay, her sidekick there, the person she works with, interviewed all 17. They've come up with 2 people that they would like to do an interview, a second round of interviews with. I'm going to speak with her tomorrow and work out that time, and there's actually a third that they're trying to get in contact with.
Wow.
So that's.
Wow, that's kind of breaking news.
I
It
know.
would have been nice to have a little heads up that was happening.
I know, it was like, right after you left, it was by like an hour after you left, I think. And I looked at my email, and it was from Mary, I was like, access, and it was.
I mean, it's hard to be mad that that happened, it's just frustrating that we didn't hear about it.
Yeah.
It would have been nice to know that was happening, because that took a while, 17 applicants. The
Yeah.
interviews.
And I was surprised, so she must have gotten more outside
That
of
went right
where
to
I
her,
went
yeah.
to. because
Well, we
I only
did
had 6 or
Tell
7.
them to email UMB directly.
Yes.
Right,
So they should have gotten a lot that we didn't get.
right.
They all, in theory, they all should have gone right there.
Yeah, the ones I got a couple initially from Indeed that were just, I think, just whatever.
They clicked the button and apply all.
Yeah. But the ones that I got that didn't go to them, that I forwarded to Collins Center, came from the online application process, the Berkshire Eagle.
Oh.
So when I did the paper, submitted the paper to put it in the newspaper, part of that was 30 days of online application. So all of the 6 or 7 that I got all came through the Berkshire Eagle, and I just forwarded them off to
Well,
both of them.
That's good news, so there could be action on this
Yeah.
in the near future.
And they found, they have 2 out of the 17 they want, and there's a third, is this third person new or one?
It's one of the 17 that they're trying to get in contact with them.
So, have you mentioned that we have an internal candidate as well?
I haven't yet.
Okay, can you please? I think that it's
Yeah,
best
that's what
that they all go through the same process.
Yeah, I'll let them know and give them.
This just goes to show the downside of outsourcing to firms. Instead of
That's
having
really
someone
what
in
I
the
was-
office that you
right.
run into at the coffee
Yes.
pot.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
This remote stuff is out of hand.
Yeah, it really is.
But it's
And it's
good.
hard to get a
Yeah,
handle
I
on
know.
it, yeah,
I
so,
know. It just-
but it's hard to get a handle on it and to keep track of what's going on.
Yeah.
And I can't even blame people for wanting to get stuff done rather than just deal with constant emails. On the other hand, like, kinda need to know what's happening.
So going forward, do you think that you could be in on the second interviews?
Yeah, that's what they want, yeah, so I'm gonna talk with, I'll get back in touch with Mary tomorrow.
And I'm not sure if it would be too intimidating to also have Frank, but if they're open to that, then I think that would be good. And then also the internal candidate should definitely be.
They should talk to, at least have like a first interview.
Yeah. the next item on the agenda is the November special town meeting warrant. Just so you know, I did get back to Richard yesterday as well.
Oh.
I sent him what I had, which is
Richard.
basically nothing. Jack.
Jaffe.
Jaffe,
Oh,
okay.
So we have some simple ones. I'm just gonna say the simple ones and get them out of the way, because we have a lot that aren't simple. And I don't have the articles drafted, but I'll work with town council over the next week to get the art. I mean, some of this stuff is simple. So prior year bills, simple. We're just figuring out the exact amount. Historical commission money for district, gonna be about $4,000 to hire a consultant, and then based on how that's voted, will inform whether we move forward with that, or we take those ARPA funds. Let's say it gets voted no, there's contingency, then we would apply that to something else. We have to transfer funds from the special stabilization fund for retiree health and life benefits to OPEB, which were mistakenly put there in the first place. We have to clarify the amount.
Please, yes, let's just get this fine.
Yeah, well, the problem is I've been back and forth,
I know.
we've been back and forth, and then I put it on the back burner. But do we have any update from Sarah or Eric on it, or?
I haven't seen anything recently, but I'll reach out.
I know the exact amount that's been put in there since 2022.
Mhm.
And that was put in there in 2022, 2023, 2024. I just don't know to what degree interest comes into play. How do you even divide that up? If money was in the wrong account, but it earned interest, when it was in the wrong
That's why you
account?
got accountants.
I don't know, good question.
So that's kind of urgent.
I'll reach out to them.
I did send, by the way, Roger an email explaining this, and I CC'd Eric and Sarah. Even though, maybe I'm not supposed to technically. It was a former email thread,
Yes.
so they should all be aware of it. We're gonna raise funds for auditing last fiscal year 24, we've been over that before, that's simple. I just have to get the wording from Donna on the next article, which is the senior tax work-off abatement increase, that's again simple. And then we have not simple things.
Also there's the recyclables
Recycling,
contract.
that is fairly simple.
I've sent you the wording that Donna came up with,
Yeah.
it's
Fine,
extremely
simple.
simple. Basically, it reads, to see if the town will authorize the select board to
Yeah.
execute a contract to extend participation in the Western Mass Regional Recycling Program for a 5-year term commencing July 1, 2025, or take any other action relative thereto. And we actually ran some numbers on, like, why are we doing this? And the answer is, we pay less per ton than we do for municipal solid waste. There's the answer.
So now
Is it
it's
as
simple,
little
it's
as we
actually
like?
already
No.
drafted, so.
Yes,
You get
it's
the
drafted, I
award.
did send it to you,
I did see,
right, and the wording came from Donna.
Yeah.
I just made it.
you got the award for having drafted that warrant article.
Woo! First one, I don't know, it was pretty easy. That's all
So,
I did was say maybe what she did. Okay,
um,
and I have a question.
yes,
What's the word on free cash?
there's no word other than it can be done before October 30th.
Okay.
Well, we'll know what it is, hopefully before October 30th.
So before October 30th, that could be today,
I think
but
what
it's
we're gonna,
not.
I think what we're gonna
Right.
tell Eric is to fast track it.
That would be good, but we better tell him soon, cause otherwise he's gonna
Yeah.
run out of days,
Yeah.
today being the 8th.
Yeah, you did already let him know that we want it earlier than 30.
Yes, yep.
So he's already aware,
Yes.
Okay.
but we need to put the pedal to the floor.
Remind.
What's that? Yeah,
Remind.
remind.
Rolling.
I'm not actually, I'm not fully concerned, I just feel like it's bad form to.
I'd really like to know what it
Yeah.
is, so that if we do wanna do anything in particular, we know the amount we have to
Yeah.
work with.
And I think, how many roughly was prior year bills? 1,000?
Oh, yeah, it's maybe a little over 1,000.
So it's about 1,000 there.
1,200.
I'm just gonna do a rough here, cause I'm curious roughly. Talking about 1,000, the historical commission money is about 4,000.
But that's ARPA, or would it be ARPA,
No,
more
it'd be
money
more
towards that
money.
too, right, yeah,
They want
That's
more
right.
money, so it's not coming from Mark.
Yeah.
right, sorry, yeah.
So
right.
5,000, and then the other fund transfers, not any real money we need to raise, the audit is about 18.5,
17.5, because there's 1,000 in there.
For a previous year,
so it's 22,500 we need for this meeting.
which is relatively little, but
But still
it's
22,500.
gotta come from somewhere, yeah.
You may know the numbers before the certification, or whatever, so you may know this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we have $22,000 in free cash, but it's,
Yeah.
I'd like to know that, it's gonna be done October 20th.
Mhm.
And not, the 29th.
I'll reach out.
And we'll have to be in touch with them a lot to figure out the, special stabilization funds, which we had some disagreement on. Just because when they first ran the report, they said, Eric was of the understanding that that was the first money we were putting in special stabilization. But actually in 2022 and 2023, we also put $30,000 in there each year.
So it
So
went somewhere else, though, right?
someone who was trying to be smart or not paying attention was like, oh, that's supposed to go into OPEB.
All
I'm
right,
gonna put it into OPEB.
but it was supposed to go into the.
But I asked Donna if it said on the special town meeting minutes and warrant and everything that the money was going into the special stabilization fund, where should it go? And she said the special stabilization fund. And like ironic, were you on the board in 2022 for the town meeting?
I think
That
that
was
was the
just
year I was
before.
elected, yeah.
So you get off, I'm the only one who was on the board,
Right,
but.
cause my term's up in 2025, so I was elected.
But 3 board members signed a warrant saying that we would create OPEB, transfer all the money from the special stabilization into OPEB, and then at the same meeting, put $30,000 into the old one.
But then we messed up another year.
Well, the following year,
Yeah, the following year.
And
I
then-
was on that one.
and then the following year.
I think I kept I think the whole stabilization OPEB thing, I was just
It
like,
got confusing,
whatever, I
but-
don't really get it, but
Yeah, I know, it got confusing, but here we are,
Yeah.
we understand it, so.
yes, so let's fix it.
So at the end of the day, we need about 22,500, right, roughly, but pretty close. So then the land donation, I don't know where it's headed, I don't expect it to be on the town meeting warrant unless I talk to Donna and she says, oh yeah, accepting it's very simple, and then everything from there on out is the tricky part. But so talking to Dean just in the meeting, he is hoping that it can happen certainly
This year, right.
this year. So another option becomes like, I hate to do it,
To have yet another special meeting.
but also we
Yeah,
can't
but-
give up this opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the other thing is, saying the town will vote on it, if he's looking for financial reasons, that means you gotta take ownership, the deeds, the property, so there's gotta be like a settlement thing.
Right.
So there's a.
You mean with the like registry of
Yeah,
deeds?
yeah, because he
Yeah,
wants to show
proof
off
of
his place,
transfer,
I
yeah.
don't own this anymore, this is my donation or whatever.
Right.
So
It's a
there's
pretty
a,
short
I don't think you can
time
wait
frame
to
he's
do it
expecting.
in December.
Yeah,
I take it to probably it's 3 separate lots, so there's gonna probably be 3 different title searches. There's all these, it's
big
either
ask.
gotta be the meeting in November, or it's gotta be May. There's no way, I don't think he could get by and say, well, they voted on it, here's the warrant.
no,
And I think
yeah.
IRS may look at that and say,
Yeah.
it's gonna
Yeah.
be like paper it's written on.
So long story short, I mean, I think the town should own it it's too good of an opportunity to pass up.
I agree with you.
Exactly, precisely what we do with it, it doesn't really fully
We'll
matter, because
figure
even
that
if we
out.
own it and it's as is,
And
we
you
don't
don't
even
have
let
to do
people
anything
drive
to it
on
but
it.
mow the grass once in a while.
It's still,
I.
so maybe we try to fast track it, just
I
to
think-
make sure that we,
When you
that it
talk to
works out.
Donna, ask Donna, what's the process for
Right.
getting it in?
Can the select board
So-
just choose to do it, or do
No.
we have to raise the town meeting?
Well, that's one question, but the second question, what is the normal time period for doing? You got, because you have 3 different lots there.
But even if we're one lot, I still think that the same issues would apply, like,
Yeah, well, you do,
those things usually take months, not days.
yeah, no, because I did it in 30 days with my brothers,
Did you?
yeah.
You can do a quick claim deed in Massachusetts, can't you?
Pardon me?
Couldn't you just do a quick claim deed?
I don't know that, we need to ask Donna
Yeah.
what's the
So
process.
I'm just looking back through some emails with Donna.
Mhm.
And then you would have to ask her, is there's a kind of a settlement charge?
So initially, we were trying to keep it, not super public because of different reasons. And I asked if it could be an executive session and she said no.
Okay.
Because the reason you could go into executive session is to discuss the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of the real property, but if we're just getting a donation, no, we can't. I said, okay, are there any obstacles? And she said the usual consideration is hazardous waste, 21E issues, we don't usually recommend testing for it if there's no reason to suspect it is present, and it doesn't sound as if it is.
I do have a question.
Yeah.
I think I saw a fuel pump. I think there might be an underground tank. I could be wrong. It's a pipe, it's coming up, it looked to me like it's the right size for
That's not a
that.
well, but I didn't
I
see-
saw, I know, and it was located very close to what looks like the venting for a septic field, so I could absolutely be wrong, because I don't think they would have put those across that.
I don't-
But I
Would
just
they have
think
even
it would
let
be
them
wise
build
to
a
find
burial
out if
tank
there's.
that close to the water?
It would.
It depends on.
I
how
think
deep
we
it was.
do, we wanna cross our T's and dot.
Yeah, we
our
wanna
I's.
make sure there isn't.
She also said next would be encroachments easements that would cause it to be unusable for a specific municipal purpose. We can look at a title for those issues. And I asked if there were buried gas tanks or other hazards, and the owner said no, there are not,
Oh, okay.
at least to his knowledge.
Right.
The
Okay.
demolition about 15 years ago were permitted and comprehensive, as I understand it.
Okay.
It does sound like there are numerous, this is me writing, it does sound like there are numerous easements for well water rights and a driveway easement for a neighbor to get to her property. So we kind of touched on those tonight, but long story short, the well water rights were seasonal. And I think they were supplying them year round, kind of without question, but different issues came up. And now, long story short, each neighbor does have their
She
own.
said what that,
Well,
each neighbor had it.
So that's not a huge concern, it is
But we
something
might
like a
have
bit to tidy
to
up.
find out how to tidy up establishing that the rights, even though they're seasonal deeded there, all of the buildings now have independent water, and what do we do about that? Does it get removed from the deed? Does
Well,
it-
one thing she said, we could ask for the neighbors to just give up the rights,
Right,
or we can take the rights by eminent domain, in which case we'd have to pay damages for the taking.
well, would there be
But if the-
damages if they already
If
have?
the neighbor has another water source, it shouldn't be too much of a financial cost.
Right.
So I think that the next step is just where are we at? What's the timeline? And how, and
And we should ask her, can we fast track this? The
Yeah.
donator would like to have this situation finalized this calendar year. Is it possible? How long do you think this would take?
Mhm.
And what do you think the estimate closing cost would be?
That as well.
Yeah.
It was so pretty. This was a beautiful day to go visit.
Lovely thing. It's, we don't have water access to that lake. There isn't public water access to that lake,
And it's a lot of frontage.
other than the
The boat
boat
ramp.
dam, boat ramp, and that's quite the same.
Beautiful view. It's really a pretty spot.
Next up, so that's really just questions for town council about, is it wise?
Yeah.
And what are we missing? And just what should we do? Town council is gonna have to weigh in. The solar, pilot monies, Roger, it seems like the assessor has to weigh in. I don't know if there was something that we should really vote at this town meeting.
What?
So
Why does the assessor have to weigh in?
I just looked at an email chain and someone said the assessor had to weigh in.
Wasn't me, it would've been Donna, I think. She
Yeah.
said Donna was. part of
Okay.
that.
Let me look
With,
up.
Beth Green.
Green flag?
You
I
know,
think
what we've
that-
talked about, we've kicked pilot around so many times, And I know it's just a kind of a payment in lieu of taxes, voluntary, because you sometimes donation to the town,
Wait,
sometimes not so
who
voluntary.
would be giving the pilot monies?
The solar company,
Oh.
HESB has put, yeah.
Why is pilot?
So they wouldn't be assessed on the full value of what they're gonna, so make an agreement with them and they do a pilot instead.
I see.
So
Okay.
that's one of their,
That's why.
that's one of their offerings to come into town and to build it and to offer.
Okay, gotcha.
They put a pilot,
Cause they don't own the ground, so why would they be paying taxes?
it's a whole new thing with, it's a whole issue because it's a
Real
municipal
property?
government. Because it's municipal public property and a private entity is being put on it, private company is putting equipment on it.
So it's basically because it's
It's-
like, yeah,
Then they treat it as if it's
personal property.
personal property.
Gotcha, okay.
So, and what I'm seeing here is that Donna said, there's a whole email chain. It
I
may-
don't think I have this email chain.
Yeah, I
would've
can forward
noticed
it to you, but, Donna says, we want the assessors involved with the pilot negotiations.
Okay.
We certainly can't be approving the pilot agreement at this town meeting if it still needs to be negotiated.
Clearly,
So the question on this one is,
do we have anything for that?
is there anything that makes sense to vote at this town meeting? Or is it just May, or another town meeting?
So there were two things that they wanted to put together, because one needed to be voted by a town meeting and the other didn't. And the one that needed to be voted was the pilot was gonna need to be voted at town meeting, but, Donna Brewer was, her opinion was that because the town had voted that the select board could engage in a 20-year lease, that a 20-year contract was just part of it, that it was just okay to do that. But it made more sense to have the two sort of combined and voted on. It didn't feel right in their conversations about separating them out.
Separating the pilot.
The pilot from the
from
basically
the
saying,
lease.
okay, here's the pilot, we have to vote for the pilot at the town meeting, but the three of you could vote on the 20-year. They thought it would be better to sort of combine the two into one essentially warrant article.
Then we basically need to get language about that from Donna.
Yeah, it's beyond
Yeah.
my
I agree,
understanding.
and mine too.
So,
It's, the two of them were having a conversation that was sometimes
If only-
hard to follow.
Me, Donna
and Beth,
Peter?
the
Oh, Beth,
Donna and
okay.
Beth in their conversation back and forth.
Yeah,
About the specific concept of the 20-year contract, which I reached out to them, sort of kind of asked that question, that kind of started the conversation, then it got a little technical, lawyerly.
I am just forwarding it to Frank and Susan for your, in case you wanna look at it. The next difficult one is the bylaw review committee bylaws.
they're meeting now.
They're meeting now.
They think that it's more or less finalized.
Yeah.
He said he did send you.
He sent me not a final version, but a close one. I'm a little bit getting cold feet. I mean, I think if we get a final copy tonight,
That's what he's hoping to.
yeah, then we can probably put it on as long as we just, and they're gonna do a meeting between now and town meeting.
A public,
Yeah. the
public hearing.
public
Well,
information meeting.
So I think if we can get as much as we can out as soon as we can, then it's possible. But I would hope to even get stuff posted to the town website this week. Definitely not people seeing it, the first time when they get the warrant in the mail. So if we can get something like,
Put out.
posted to the town website,
And a Google thing.
and here's the new proposed version, and here's the old one. Just cause we've always said, the last thing I wanna end up is at town meeting and people are like, I just got this 18-page document to review, cause the mail's slow these days, 3 days ago, what's going on? And I know we have given warning in some ways, but, they're meeting at 7.
Yeah, I'm actually texting him to text me if they set a date.
Yeah,
We
and
did-
then,
We did have a citizen who was concerned, who got in touch with me, thought it was actually already done. So people are listening, you know. they are.
yeah, I mean, we've been talking about it, we voted on, at town meeting to create a bylaw review committee. Bylaw. But, so it's been years in the making, but I just wanna make sure that we have that stuff out as soon as possible.
Yep.
And
So they're hoping, my understanding was tonight's meeting
Okay,
was
it's
for the
final,
purpose of finalizing it and setting a date for the public meeting.
Okay.
That, and I just texted him to
Yeah.
please text
If
me
the
if they
meeting's
actually.
if the meeting's going on right now, I'll
Yeah.
probably stop over when we're done,
That's
cause
fine.
we'll have a quick meeting, right?
I don't think, he was thinking it was gonna be
Shouldn't answer
quick,
the
so.
question.
Yeah, right. He may.
First time for everything.
If he actually has his phone.
Well, anyways, I would love it because it's been years in the making.
Yeah.
But let's say like tonight doesn't go well, then
It doesn't
we
go,
have to,
right.
then we'll see. So, and same thing with the land donation,
Everything takes so long.
the land donation, I wish it, I don't know if I always played my cards right, I feel bad, I was gone a lot of September. And there was also, just so you guys know, no nefarious attempt to like keep it silent, there was a concern to keep it quiet.
Yeah.
And it didn't, because of open meeting law, and because of that concern, and because I was MIA for September, it just like, the ball got kicked down.
I'm sorry,
You're
you're not MIA, you were excused because you got married. I
It's
did, we
allowable.
knew exactly where you were, you were not missing. You
So,
just weren't here.
so anyways, those are the more complicated ones, and then one last, a couple last concerns. One is the free cash, we're gonna fast track, we're fast tracking everything. And then I'm gonna come up with a cover letter to hopefully sign along and get sent out with the warrant, and it's gonna be very simple and straightforward.
Vote yes and shut up.
What's that?
Vote yes and shut up.
No,
shut
it's
up,
gonna
vote
say,
yes.
if you have questions about the historical commission consultant, go to their meeting that they're hosting conveniently right before the town meeting, perfect.
Right,
If you have questions about the bylaw, show up to their meeting,
right.
perfect. I mean, every time we have a town meeting, we should tell each committee or board or to have a
Meeting
public
before, yeah,
hearing to
yeah.
discuss their big requests.
And then when nobody shows up, we can say, well, you could have calmed down the meeting, I don't like they got a meeting, so shut up.
Then you can say, shut up.
Make sure that's in your notes.
And then the last one is, Lake Garfield Work Group, I just wanna put it out there, Mike Jermaine reached out to me and he said, are you considering more money for Dash? Richard Jaffe reached out about the town meeting warrant, possibly related to Dash, he didn't specify. Roger made a good point, if we want more money for Dash, it might make a lot more sense to come in May and ask for the money for May and June.
As
at the
well,
May town
right,
meeting.
May
When
and
we-
June as well as the fall.
Well, yes,
Yeah.
but in two separate articles.
Oh, spring one and then the next.
In a special article that says this money is available immediately, cause otherwise it doesn't open till July 1.
Ah, right,
And then,
why would we do that then and not now?
because we don't even know our free cash certification
Okay,
yet,
that's
and we don't know as much as we might want to about Dash and lake scientists and what lake scientist bills do we have for the drawdown, et cetera. So we'd have more information, and we know they don't do Dash again until
May, I think.
Until-
May or, actually June. I think.
May and June, really.
Yeah.
So if we do it now, we're being more proactive, but we also have less information. So in May, we could have more information, if we wanna do that.
And there is a good chance we'll have more applied watershed, the scientist invoices.
So-
I mean, I've already gotten two that have already gone against their $30,000.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna make a suggestion that because we've now made the decision to bring the, like, you know, the care of the lake under the town fully, that if we're gonna plan to do that in the May meeting, which I think is a good plan, also accompany that with like an article in the Monterey News explaining that after all these years of, sort of punting the proper care and maintenance of the lake, the town's finally stepping up and taking proper responsibility for care of the lake. Working with the Lake Garfield Working Group as an advisory board, but now under, the expectation is the town is going to be the one responsible for the greater part of that, making sure the lake is properly assayed by lake scientists, dealing with the dash, et cetera. And as part of that, we now have to consider that this is an ongoing expense.
Mm-hmm.
We've been doing it, we might as
Yeah.
well own that we're doing it, and it should be part of the budget.
Yeah.
But I think it's worth explaining the process of how we got to that decision in an article.
Yeah, and I do agree, and it's definitely a change from years past.
So,
Maybe.
let's say after this year, would it go under the regular budget rather than special articles?
I think that's probably what we're gonna see in the upcoming year, is that there's gonna be a
Not this year,
line.
because it's the first year and.
Well, I think what we'll see
I think it'll be this.
at annual town meeting, you'll see a line item in the budget.
But it might be that what you're talking about in terms of this last little installment would be a special
Would be.
article, but there's also gonna be.
Some of it'll be on the regular budget.
So basically, we have more than enough money to pay for this first phase of Dash, which happens in the fall. The second phase, which happens in the spring, we probably won't have
Right.
much of any money for. But we can, you have to do a special wording at the annual town meeting, but you can make funds available immediately.
Yeah.
In a special article, so that's, I think, what we're,
So you do that part, and the rest of it would be a full
a
year.
new
would be
line
the
item
line
that you've
item.
never seen
That's great.
before
Yeah. I like that.
about Lake
And I think an
Garfield.
article in the news explaining that to people would be.
They don't have
nice.
quorum.
They have quorum.
If they says some,
Both, kind of, but the original is more important. We always talk about having a track changes, but the clean one is the one that goes on the warrant. So this is a question about the bylaws. So the clean one is number one key priority to go on the warrant, we're gonna have a clean copy. But we do also desire, as best as possible, track changes to put on the website. And have available at the town clerk for people who don't prefer to use the internet.
So the hope for this would be to confirm the original ones, we're not making
Let's point to something.
substantive changes in
Point
this
to
version,
comment.
correct?
Why did they
Yes.
say
That
that?
was the plan.
Yeah. Somehow this warrant, good thing I caught that. Actually, it says 1:30 in the morning
What was that?
for the special town meeting.
Oh.
I was just gonna say, I actually, on my calendar have two different times for that day.
1:30.
It's 1:30. I also had 9:30.
Yeah, no, I
Them
think it's
both
1:30.
on there. And I was like,
Could be either
can't
very
both
early
be
or very
right.
late.
Yeah, I know.
What if we accidentally put it for 1:30 in the morning?
Mine was 1:30 PM, but.
You see if we can
Is
get
that legal?
14 people.
it'd be a quick meeting.
Yeah, for 14 people, I think you'd be lucky to get 14.
In Massachusetts history of town meeting, going back to the 1600s, I'm sure there's been some middle of the night meeting.
What's our quorum number supposed
I
to
think it's 14.
Is it?
Yeah.
Wow, that's so low.
be? That's
Well,
really
it's
our
based
quorum
on the
is?
registered voters, right?
Yeah.
So that is, by the way, one of the things that bylaw review committee has identified as a possible change in the future.
Right, is raising that.
But we're not doing it this go round, because this go round, we're just trying to keep everything.
We're trying to get a clean, full copy that includes all the stuff that's happened at various meetings that wasn't. That should have been kept up to date by the town clerk, but I'm just not gonna say that. Because,
I would like to get to the bylaw review committee meeting sooner than later.
Okay.
Not to say we can't tackle a couple more items, but just.
given that, I sort of feel like that's true, but I do wanna,
So we have budget software. We are in email with a recording of the overview.
Yep.
Anything anything else that, did it go well? Do you feel like this is something that we wanna?
I thought it went well. I thought it would definitely help us as we move forward with, people commenting. I do have to talk to Donna after a conversation with Susan about what constitutes open meeting law when elected officials start commenting on the budget.
Yeah, there's no workaround.
Yeah.
So there is no way to say, oh, well, we'll put a link to it on the town website, because we went through this with bylaw review committee.
Yeah.
It has to happen at a posted meeting. So select board members and finance committee members would not be able to post if other members of their same committee could see.
The
Yes.
only thing we could do is take notes by ourselves, and then when we're at a meeting together, they could get entered at that meeting, but we wouldn't be able to do it.
So that's a good point
So
there.
that's the only,
Put notes in it.
yeah, that's the only, I guess, loss in, because that would have happened with any piece of software that's being successful and how we shared it. That's the only piece that would be.
Roger's point was
lost.
that like, when they were using stuff like that, and everyone that was using it was a town employee,
Yeah.
so it wasn't a problem.
Well, the department heads could comment on it.
Yeah,
And the accountant and treasurer, but
but not
board
us,
and-
right.
you'd almost wanna disable comments from us, because it just is a mess and there's no way to get around it, and.
But then when we're at a public, when like we're at a meeting, if you're here, you could enter our comments and even identify who's at it, right? And then there'll be a record of those discussions without our ever touching.
And I'll ask them about whether or not, I'm sure I can, whether or not I can turn off the ability to make comments. You still be able.
A viewer,
to
not
look-
an editor.
Yeah, to just sort of review it and look at it and not make comments on it, or that just may be something that we come to agreement. You
Or,
can't make it.
I think it's well worth it still, because we'd always have the most updated version, we could see other people's comments. You could probably see the change history.
Yeah, you can make different.
So all those things are very
versions.
valuable.
Yeah, what's the cost?
We would be prorated because we're not starting at the actual fiscal year of July 1, so it's $11,000 a year, which I have money in the IT budget to cover that. There's an initial $2,500 cost. It's basically 4 different modules. There's a operating module, there's a capital, a personnel, and then what we would call a budget book. So we would be able to put a budget book out for people to look and sort of drill down through or look at the different.
Just so you know, Mickey, it would mean the public could actually real time see.
Yeah, I got that.
Yeah, so it worked, it pulls in from Vadar, pulls in from there, and it allows us to export out the budget as well, so it can be theoretically imported into Vadar in that sense.
But Roger, how many hours do you need for setting that up? I mean, I like the software. I thought you did a great job presenting it. I thought, the modules were great. But the problem I see, not a problem or concern, is you don't know what you don't know till you get into it.
Oh, yeah.
And then and then that first time you try to download the Vadar into the system,
Well,
and things
it's not
end up all
only the
kinds of weird places.
the Vadar, but if you have a learning curve
Yeah.
on the, different department heads. On the viewing the comments, I think it'd be good if we could put the comments in, but we couldn't view them.
But I don't know
So
that
he
there's
would
any,
see.
right?
So he could see it. If you're sitting there and saying, you're getting in the 11th hour, what is this? I think, try this number, Roger. You would at least have it recorded in the software. Okay, I gotta write Roger an email. You would have it recorded. So the select board members and the finance committee members would be able to input it.
Well, maybe there's a way to private message comments in the system.
That's what I was just thinking.
Yeah,
Maybe
But,
there's a way. So you can only see your comments. and not-
Right. So
yeah,
that
I
the
see other
administrator can
people's
see it, but
comments,
the
but
other
he would be
viewers
the
can't.
master where he could see
It
it
would
all.
have to be like a private message thing.
I'll have to look,
But-
I'll ask.
It'd be interesting, like I talked to Mari the other day, she still has some concerns with her tax collecting software.
Yes, yep.
And, it'd be interesting to have you talk to some users, because it sounded like it was, New England operation, and see what the end users are saying about how is it, how long did it take to set up, what help did you need, what would you do differently, a set of questions about how to do it.
Yeah, I got a list of 4 or 5 of their clients that are around 1,000, between 1,000 and 2,000, maybe 3,000.
Is there anyone close?
There were, I think, 3 of them in Massachusetts. There were some that were outside of Massachusetts, but I'll have to go and double check.
So, I mean, I don't think it's unreasonably priced. The question is, there's a learning curve for someone learning it.
Mhm.
Well, I know whenever you do Vadar stuff in town meeting warrants, they don't mix because of the sub-accounts.
Yeah.
That's true.
So this would be a little more
Because
helpful.
did you update the 2 of them as well?
I haven't, no, I meant to tell you, I forgot. to tell that.
What
There were some issues with how the warrant was brought into Vadar. It's not totally accurate. I
You
noticed,
mean that's different from any other year when this has happened? Oh my
No, but it's bad.
there's a few of the departments where it's off, where it's off a lot. Well, I noticed it first because
Because
I
no one
was,
looks at the town meeting minutes.
I was talking to Dennis about some stuff, Dennis Lynch. And so I went to look online, I went to look in Vadar at what monies were there, and you asked a question too about that, so I went to look and see, and it said that the budget line item was $5,000. And I was like, I thought we raised that, I was thinking 10,000 or something, and then I went and looked back at the minutes, warrants with the minutes, and it was 7,500. So I kind of just went through the general government to kind of get an idea, and there were some that weren't matching. And like, for example, for the community center has really on the warrant just had 2 line items. And the 1 line item for their expenses hasn't been broken down yet in Vadar. Just the budget for the, for RJ is in there. So I sent Eric today, I sent him the little work that I did, I copied it, sent it to him. I sent him and the approved spreadsheet that we also used to create the warrant, so he could look and see what was going on there too. So it said things just weren't quite right. So.
I mean, the warrant minutes should be pretty straightforward. It's not.
Well, it's not, the
problem is
the warrant.
Vadar's all in the sub-accounts.
Yep.
And the minutes are all not, but the minute should be the Bible for everyone in the finance.
This is my point, and if the total amount, sub-accounts or no sub-accounts, the
I
sub-accounts
know.
are all sub-accounts of a particular account.
I know.
And if the account amount is wrong and it's on the warrant, it's pretty straightforward what should be populated.
It's kind of a mixture of both. So you have a line item in the warrant that says X number of dollars and it equals in Vadar. You have a line item on the warrant that says a gross dollar that says it's this and it doesn't equal. And then you have a line item in the warrant that is a combination of all the sub-accounts. So the total matches. So the total expense line, for example, for the community center is community payroll, community center expenses.
Right.
But in Vadar, those X number of dollars of expenses are broken down into multiple units.
Right.
And so
where do those multiple unit numbers come from though?
they come from the spreadsheet.
The budget.
So you have to kind of work the 2 together. So, and I think that's where this will help us, because we'll be able to work on an individual and then create a report that breaks everything down, that groups everything. So we're not having to vote on like pencils, like.
Well, let's hope not.
And
That's
so,
the whole point of putting,
and so-
just having expenses, right?
but you also have to be able to take that line item expense and break it down by the individual line items.
Right.
Because like, for example,
Which is what happens on the budget spreadsheet.
yes,
Okay.
so
So somehow the combination isn't happening, so our financial team is not quite.
and that's why I asked him, I said, because it was my first time doing it.
Pardon?
They're not looking at the town meeting minutes.
They're not.
There's certain things that weren't being looked at, that.
But it
were kind of
also
like
sounds
copies.
like, I don't think that many things from the town meeting minutes were changed substantively that would account for why those things don't matter.
Yeah, no.
Like, that's a problem.
Reagan been the same line item for years and years and years and years, and this year we just set it at 7,500, and so it should have just been 7,500, and that's not rocket science, and there is no sub-account.
And
it
it,
did
yeah,
change.
and it was done, and it was in the budget.
Yeah.
It was on the spreadsheet, so there's really no.
And by the way, this year, now that I'm thinking about it, this was the first year, and who knows how long and across how many times, where we didn't make a single change on the town meeting floor to the budget. Do
That's
you
true.
remember that? We voted the budget as is,
Right,
so it should have been a particularly easier.
easy year.
Well, just so you know, he did sign his half of the contract, so we're all set with him.
Okay.
So now we can hang him out to dry, and he hasn't done it now.
So anyway,
So I'll.
we're not gonna, how about this, let's not buy the budget software until we talk through some of this stuff a little bit more.
So I'm meeting with, the finance committee as well.
Okay, good.
I just wanna raise one issue with the ban things. Can we
Yes,
talk
yeah,
about
I
ban
mean, can we get through old business
Yes,
quickly?
do it.
Is there any?
I've written
firehouse
Sean
lease?
and I've written the finance committee.
Okay,
Sean to meet, finance committee to appoint a person to do the lease.
okay, so that's talking about the future lease.
Yeah,
We're not gonna get into it tonight, but Donna made a summary about how to sell the Monterey Schoolhouse. I forwarded it to you all.
Oh, thank you.
Did you get that?
Yeah, I got it, I think, yeah.
It went
Yes,
to
I
everybody?
believe you did.
Okay. Well,
That was a little while ago.
you, like, within the last week.
yeah.
That will be a future meeting.
That, translation, that wasn't today. I think I saw
Yeah,
that previously.
yeah. ARPA funds, I do have one thing I wanna deal with tonight, as long as everyone's comfortable. We had initially, it's the same purpose, the funds to hire the consultant for a historic district. When they applied through the Historical Society, which is a nonprofit entity. Rob Hoogs is recommending, and I think it makes a lot of sense to actually just make the funds go through the Monterey Historical Commission, which is the town entity. If we're good with that, I think we should vote on it tonight.
Yeah,
Okay.
good idea.
So I'll move that the ARPA funds be allocated to the Historical Commission rather than the Historical Society, as they relate to hiring a consultant for the historic district application.
I will second,
Any other discussion? All right, we'll call a vote
yes.
Yes.
and yes, on that. And then,
TA.
yeah, TA updates.
You wanted to say something about the ban? I had something, did you want to say something?
Yeah, so we do now have the med rescue vehicle supposedly arriving tomorrow. Do we have an actual total? Because I would like to have the correct amount, since we last took out a loan on a vehicle we didn't have for a specified amount. And we now are about to get a vehicle for an actual amount. Can we please borrow the correct amount?
Well, we already borrowed it.
120.
This is that
Yes,
vehicle.
but we have to renew that, and I would prefer if we borrowed 129,
Yeah.
but we actually only spent one, let's not renew it for 129, okay?
Yeah, I don't know how,
Just saying.
I don't
He
know,
doesn't have a number?
I don't know how,
I haven't talked to
He
him.
said you have the bills. He literally says you have the bills for a week. This is in my text string
Bills?
right
I'll have
now,
to go
yeah.
look and see, I know he sent me something, but I hadn't really just not gotten.
the
He
thing is,
says he's got the bill for a week and a half. I asked him for the correct dollar value of the vehicle. He says, the truck is coming tomorrow, like it or not. I said, you know the correct dollar value, and he says, Roger has the bill for a week and a half. He says, that may or may not be true, but that is what Sean texted me.
the other thing is, Susan, remember there's two different ways to do this, is to not take out the funds or to take them and then reapply them, like we had to do with the library. We had to vote that we were authorized to borrow a certain amount of funds and we were not gonna borrow them. The problem is, we've already borrowed the full amount that we were authorized to borrow, so
We now have to pay that down.
we have to pay that down, and I don't know if like what you're saying, we can take, okay, we borrowed 129, we only needed 120. What the technical way to get rid of that 9,000 is, we'll have to consult the treasurer.
I'm happy
Yeah.
to do that, but I would like to make sure that we're not borrowing more than we have to borrow.
But we already
No,
did.
no, we
Yeah.
did, but it's done now.
So
Yeah.
I
It's
think,
up at the bank. So we don't have to continue to borrow the incorrect amount now that we actually know the correct amount.
well, that is the purchase of the base unit. So there will be
Not the
additional dollars.
Entire thing.
But yeah, because I do see it's, I just opened it here. It's a little over $60,000. But there's other
But that's not
equipment
the
to be
total
purchased.
cost of it.
So there's modifications.
Correct.
There's additional.
But he did say to us in a previous meeting that the total amount was likely to be less than that
Mhm.
amount.
Just less than 129,
Yes.
okay?
Now, if in fact we don't know what that number is and we still have to renew
Renew
for
the
the
bar
one
if we need to.
twenty-nine, right, if we need to renew for the 129 because it could be 129, I'm okay with that. But if we already know that it's not going to be that much, I would prefer to renew it for less, because I'd rather not pay interest on money we don't have to pay.
Did,
Right, that
absolutely.
sounds good.
Yeah, did you notice anything else on the ban? Because I haven't had a chance to look at it.
The other things.
And can you read the library numbers for Mickey, please?
I didn't
So
turn it on.
according to this, it says the library, the maturing note is $675. We are gonna pay down $100, which would say this issue renewal is $575.
Right.
The maturing note on the tandem axle truck is $98,299.95. We're paying down $32,766.65 for an issue renewal of $65,533.30. The F-550 truck maturing note is $118,569.60. The pay down is $29,642.40 for an issue renewal of $88,927.20. And the med rescue vehicle maturing note is $125, and the issue renewal is theoretically $129, unchanged, for a total of $1,020,869.55. Maturing notes, and the renewal would be $858, $460.50. With a total pay down of $162,409.05.
Mickey, does that track for the library 675,
I
pay
think
down
it is,
100?
yeah. I haven't looked at it in a while, but I'm sure it's.
It makes
it's
sense
wrong, I'll
to
tell you
me,
tomorrow.
so, yeah. But it's like, the only thing that flagged in my head is like,
Is the 129?
is the 120.
Yeah, we should all double check. Pay downs this issue, that's including. I just wanna look for those other,
And what's
The
the?
one
So,
thing I
by
did
the way-
notice is there's no interest payment that I see on here for the 129.
I don't think the interest shows up
Okay.
on this.
Okay,
But Sarah said, and this is the problem with separating out principal and interest on the warrant, which we needed to do, because other than that, we couldn't keep anything straight, and we were messing it up every year,
okay,
crazy. So what we did this year was we separated principal and interest. But we put 5,000 for interest on the 129.
I
And
think we
Sarah
had to make
said-
up the number, yeah.
Sarah said it wasn't 5,000. Should we put that money against principal? I don't think we really can. We voted it for it to be interest. I think we have to just let it go to free cash,
Yeah, probably.
because we had to divide it up, so.
And cause they could, and
It's
as
not
I recall, we
ridiculous.
put the 5,000 because they couldn't give us a number.
Right.
Which I have a problem with in and of itself, in terms of the financial team having told us, we borrowed the
then-
money at a
then-
known rate, and they can't tell us what the interest is, what the heck?
But we borrowed them, yeah,
Yeah, exactly, I'm having
but
some
then we
issues with the
signed,
financial team's performance.
then we signed back in March, like the first week in March,
The note for that,
or the second week of March, the note for the truck that is just now coming, which thankfully it's coming now, because I didn't know if it was gonna be yours. You
Yeah.
never know with this.
Right, exactly.
So
I'm
we
not
gotta
complaining
get
about
it
it.
modified.
Modified, the ones that use it.
I'm
So
not
is it
complaining.
coming all modified and everything, or is it?
No, they have to buy the rest of it.
Oh.
Yeah.
So it's not anywhere close
It's
to
not ready to
being
go, no.
running.
But at
So-
least it's.
So
the
we're
first piece of it.
probably not in a place to unborrow any of them.
That may be true,
Yeah.
I did not understand
Yeah,
that it was
neither did
just
I.
the base
Yeah.
unit.
It's just the base.
Okay.
They're buying,
What did he buy? What's the model?
he bought a, hold on.
He was talking about an expedition.
Yeah, he bought it's a Ford 350.
Oh, 350?
Cause that's why we had to revote, we were gonna buy an SUV, we voted to buy an SUV.
Right.
Then we had to change the vote to buy a truck.
Rescue vehicle.
No, that was,
I
that
think we
was.
just
what-
called it a rescue
Yeah.
vehicle.
Yeah, we changed the
But
right.
it wasn't gonna be an SUV.
Right.
And we kinda knew it was gonna be a truck, but we made it super big. Cause we
Which
learned our
I-
lesson.
Yeah, we learned our lesson with the other truck. So I'm fine with that, I'm getting a little frustrated with the balls that get.
Oh, I've been frustrated for a couple of years,
I
I'm right there
know.
with you.
Having looked over it, I'll put out, and we've had this discussion every year, which is absolutely appropriate, because revisiting is fine. But at a lower interest rate with the opportunity to pay down principal, I looked at those 10-year and 5-year options,
No,
and
this
I
makes more sense.
really don't think it's a good idea.
Yeah, some of the numbers, I was like.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
it's-
it's a higher interest rate with no option to pay it
Yeah,
down,
I know, it's like
Yeah.
that,
It's dumb.
so
It's a
I think
license
it's clear,
to
I just wanna
steal.
make sure that the amounts
You
end
know?
up the
You
amount.
can't
Yeah,
pay it down.
well, everyone's homework, including for Mickey, is to
Yes.
go
Double check
double check these numbers and
Yeah.
triple check them,
Yep.
because if we do this right, it'd be the first time since I've been on the board probably, so I'm looking
Well,
forward.
it was always okay when it was just the library all by itself. It was much easier.
Well, the library's still separated out.
Yeah, I mean, they're separate, but it's all bunched up and that gets more confusing, it seems. It was always just easier. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but I mean,
Me.
since I've been on the board, we've always had somewhere between 3, 4, 5 payments, I think.
Different items that
Because
are.
when I
part of-
first
yeah.
got on the board, we were finishing paying off the ladder truck and the transfer station. But we've always made a mistake. At least one, so. We're getting there.
Okay, yeah,
I think it's actually progress that most of the numbers seem to be.
yeah, I didn't catch it last year, you
Yeah,
did, so.
These pay down, those came, I copied them right off the.
And that was
sent them to her.
in the operating budget and the
Oh,
article.
they're right, because you did it.
And the article
Yeah, well, I just sent her the article.
and operating budget.
And the operating budget.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Cause we did it really funny this year, we do things funny, but the 100,000 showed up for the library.
It's a good thing.
Okay, alright,
But I'm glad we did it the way we did it, because that may mean that's why it came out.
yeah, most,
You sent her the figures, and she used the figures, and I'm happy with
That's what you-
that. Alright,
okay,
that was
Because
all I
it's-
wanted to.
Some other quick little things.
yes, please.
I did hear from Maya, retiree health insurance is going up 20%
Whoa.
in January. So we're currently the insurance rate for a retiree is, that we pay part of, is $388.21. It's gonna go up to $466.76. So that, she said, that's just what they did.
So, I just wanna put it on everyone's radar, as part of cleaning up OPEB, what we need to come up with, and the accountant and treasurer said we have to wait until the audit to come up with it, but we need a plan. And I think it's gonna look something like, we take $30,000 every year, probably from free cash, and we put it in OPEB. And then what Eric wants to do is pretty aggressive, pay the benefit as part of the operating budget. Until OPEB's fully funded,
Okay, so we do the 30 plus actually pay the benefit.
out of the operating
How
budget.
far are we off from the?
I think fully funded is super roughly in the neighborhood of between 500,000 and $1 million.
Yeah, something like that.
Wow.
It's to be fully funded. We're
But we're at
to
250
something.
maybe?
Mhm.
That's why I
And-
think he wants to be kind of aggressive.
And
with
what's
30,000.
well, still, to go from 250 to 500 at 30,000 a cop, it's gonna take a while. What's the actual yearly cost?
Let's see.
It's been about 17,000.
Yeah,
thousand.
well, for the
Yeah,
retiree,
That's
it's
what,
like,
It's
that's
been-
what I-
it's about-
that's
it's like
17 plus.
35, but 30,
Well,
something like that, 35 plus 12.
Well, each year we've been paying about 15,000 to 20,000.
Yeah, because we split it in half.
They pay half of it.
They pay half.
Yeah. So 30, that tracks exactly.
Yeah.
So if it's 35 total, they pay 17 and we pay 17.
And who's paying?
The retiree.
They're kind of-
Okay, so the town would be paying about 75 this.
In the operating
In
budget,
the operating budget.
which what we've done over the past 5 years. This all started back in 2006 or so with the special stabilization fund.
Right.
which obviously was built pretty slowly.
Mhm.
What we've done over the last 4 or 5 years is put $30,000 either to the special stabilization fund, or
Or
it should have been
OPEB,
going to
right.
OPEB, but we never did that.
Right,
And then every other year, we either pay the 17,000 that we owe out of free cash or out of the special stabilization fund, and we've just been flip-flopping.
right. But
So
now what we need
what
to be
Eric is saying
consistent.
is just pay it out of the operating budget, don't even pay it out of free cash, make it just part of the norm.
Mhm.
When it's fully funded, I don't know if we, let off the gas a little bit and then pay it
Because
out of the interest.
Because we're dealing with the interest, so,
Right,
from the OPEB,
right.
offsetting whatever costs are. there are.
But then we take the interest and that would pay the operating
That would-
part of our operating.
Yes, that's how, that's the. thought.
That would pay it, and then we would probably keep the line item for bad years or something.
Yeah.
But that's the big picture of where we're trying to get,
Right,
and.
and we're talking 10 years in the future.
Yeah.
Which is not, I mean,
No,
we're
it's not
at a
that far.
good clip.
Yeah, no, I think
So,
it's good.
so also in that time, interest is going in as well.
Right.
So we're not.
It
pulling
goes
that
up a
interest
little
on.
bit
So it
faster,
goes up a
right,
little
yeah.
bit faster because of the interest.
Alright, so that's
But all to say, no one of us is coming up with those numbers, the auditor is,
right,
Correct. Yes.
which is why we're paying money for an audit.
And I do have some stuff I have to dig through for the FY 22 audit. That's what we're working on, yeah, because we have to do the FY 22.
Cause we did 23.
We did
Right.
23, we're going back to do 20,
yes,
22, and we're doing 24. So I have to, they've emailed me, there's some things I just have to dig out and find, like some contracts and stuff like that. I have to
Okay.
try and find some
Yeah.
copies of things to send to them.
But they're working on it.
They're working on it, yeah, yep.
Right.
Some other quick little things here, I don't know if you're aware, but, the sheriff's department is leaving 911. They're basically, from my understanding, it's kind of in shambles up there. And, state 911 is taking over, and state 911 has said they will not be charging an assessment.
no,
So the dollars that we put in there, which I think are like $13,000 or $15,000 for the assessment, they won't be charging for that assessment. I haven't gotten a bill from the sheriff's this year.
I reread the letter, cause I saw the same thing, and I was confused if they're not charging any assessment, or they're not charging above and beyond their current assessment.
My understanding is they're not charging any assessment. So
Wow.
that's what, I was at another meeting with some emergency management person or some people, and they said the same thing, that they won't be charging any assessment. There's actually a meeting that I'm gonna go to on October 28th in Lenox at 11 a.m., which is the state 911 is gonna do that. They're gonna talk about it, so.
so let's see.
And the last thing I have is that we're looking at, through with the help of Dennis Lynch and some interest by the Renewable Energy Working Group, we're looking at some level 3 car charging stations and the cost, and actually putting it in here at Town Hall, which those are like, 20-minute charges and things like that. It's possible that it might not cost us any money at all to get them installed, but we're just looking to see, we have.
And it won't cost us money to run them either, because the people who use it pay.
Exactly. And we set the fee, we set whatever the rate is. So we spoke with one company, and another company's coming in just to still do our due diligence, just to see what happens and how much and how much it's gonna be and what the ramifications are. That's it for me.
Okay.
Anything else under unanticipated business?
I've got an update on the ADU thing, but it isn't timely, and so that's fine, we can do it another week, because so you.
Let me know if you want it on the agenda too.
Why don't you,
Yeah.
it basically, all I'm doing is just telling you that I am working with
Yeah.
Tom and Laura.
Yeah.
And we have we already sent a list of questions to Donna, but it's gonna take a while,
Okay.
that's it, you know the update. Done. And everything else can wait. I was even gonna suggest, in order for you to get to that meeting, since neither Frank nor I think, had any changes to the 8:20 minutes, that we only do the 8:20 minutes and.
No, let's do both.
Okay,
I'm
that's
gonna
fine.
post it.
No, I'm not
I mean, the
against it.
bylaw thing,
Yeah.
they either have it figured out or they don't. There's not much I can do,
There you go.
but I just wanna go over and say hi. Feel free.
Okay. And we have to sign the warrant next week theoretically, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Which, like I've said with this bylaw stuff with all of it, sooner is better, so theoretically, so there's a Monday holiday. So I gotta post the agenda on Thursday.
Yeah.
I would like to sign Tuesday, even though technically we could sign later.
Let's get it done.
Let's try to do it Tuesday.
Let's
I'm
do
gonna
it.
go over there, we're gonna figure out where we're at and that will be our main thing for Tuesday. So if there were everyone had a chance to review the August 20th minutes, there was no changes, then
I
I would.
move we approve the minutes of August 20th, 2024, of the Monterey Select Board as written.
I second the motion.
We'll call a vote, and
Yes.
Susan and Justin will vote yes. And then I'm just gonna look through the edits to 924 quickly.
I tried really hard to get it to go back off that extra page and get that one.
Well, the way they're
statement.
posted online anyway, it doesn't even
Matter.
we're all
It
good.
just bugged me that it's like one line there, right? And I caught several lines, so you'll notice like that last page now has like no little extra leaders for pages and pages. There's one thing that has 2 words, and I still couldn't get it down that
Yeah,
last
don't
line, I
worry.
finally gave up.
It won't even matter, it's all good.
Alright,
Alright, well, the changes all look good, I'll move that we approve the minutes of September 24th as amended.
second,
We'll call a vote,
Yes.
yes.
and yes. Any other business? I feel like that was a productive meeting,
Yeah,
That was good.
wasn't the shortest ever.
Well, that's-
We'll meet next week.
we had 2 meetings with outside people, and we still got finished in
And
under
we
2 hours, I think
we
we did
talked
pretty
about
well.
some important things.
Yeah, we did.
I hope we get the name.
Yeah, I mean,
I think it's good for the town.
I'd love to say, oh, we have a plan by foresight and we have a financial estimate and everything, but I feel like if we own it, and even if nothing's done, that's better than it being
If
developed.
it's sat for 2 years and we got grants, so be it.
Yeah.
Minimal cost or something, but
If we're talking about mowing in the intervening time,
And it's a once in a generation
It
thing.
really is.
We're
I know,
foolish to
right?
pass it up.
So, alright, we'll figure out what the,
There's other town property that's sitting around that we're not doing anything
Oh,
with.
well,
So,
sell the school.
smaller pieces.
like the children's forest stuff.
yeah, the children's forest, but that's like the preservation, so, and the school, by the way, it's just not that simple.
I know.
Nothing
Nothing
simple.
Nothing simple.
Nothing simple.
I'm not sure it was ever simple.
I thought we could just put in the monitors, how much money does someone wanna pay for the school? Let us know.
Right?
Oh, 100,000, here you go. But,
I think that's a little high, my.
Yeah, right, how about $5?
alright, we'll vote, I'll move that we adjourn and we'll vote on the motion.
Second,
Frank
Yes.
and Susan
yes.
and Justin, yes as well, so, meeting adjourned is at 7:50 PM. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.